mini kitchen in my RV in 38-degree weather, and I thought, now what can I fix today that's going to be warming? So I thought, how about some hamburger stew? There's many different versions of hamburger stew out there, but this is my version. So I took about 1.25 pounds of the leanest ground beef I could find. This is all natural lean ground beef. It's 93% lean. So I get whatever the store has that's the leanest. And so I've already browned it off and drained it good. Of course, there's not much when it's that lean. There's not much fat that cooks out. And I've added about a cup of chopped onion, and I'm sauteing that right now. So this is what it looks like so far. So when my onion is done, I'm going to turn that down just a little bit. Don't want it to burn. So as soon as the onion is tender, then I'm going to start adding a few other things. I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of dry mustard. Teaspoons of dry mustard or ground mustard, and 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. This is dried oregano. And my recipe normally calls for 1.5 teaspoons of salt and 4 cloves of garlic. Well, I got off on this trip in the RV with no garlic. So what I'm going to use instead is I'm going to put 1.5 teaspoons of garlic salt in and leave out the regular salt. And we'll see how it tastes. We may have to adjust this. So I'm going to put 1.5 teaspoons of the garlic salt. Normally I would put 4 cloves of fresh garlic and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Okay, so I'm going to stir this in. My onion's just about done now. And I'm going to add about 2.5 tablespoons of flour that I've already measured here. And I'm going to stir that in. I'm doing a good bit of substituting today. When I get that stirred up, I'm going to add 1 quart of water. And 4 teaspoons of better than bouillon. I really like it. Of course, if I have some good beef broth, I can just use 4 cups of beef broth. But I don't have the beef broth today, so I'm adding the quart of water and 5 regular beef bouillon cubes. And I'm going to let that cook for just a minute, come back to a boil, and then I'm going to add about 1 cup of bite-sized potatoes, white potatoes, and let that cook for just maybe 10 minutes. And then I'm going to add 1.5 cups to 2 cups of other vegetables, mixed vegetables. If you have frozen mixed vegetables, you could use cup and a half or 2 cups of that. If you have fresh vegetables, use about a cup and a half to 2 cups of fresh vegetables. I like to do that because I have a garden, and quite often I can add the fresh vegetables to my stew. So just a cup of potatoes, white potatoes chopped up, or plus 2 cups of any kind of mixed vegetables. I also, because I normally have fresh carrots, I like to put in fresh carrots as well. But we're going to let that cook for just a few minutes. And then I'm going to add the potatoes. Let them cook maybe 10 minutes, and then add the rest of the vegetables. Today I have carrots, green beans, and corn. And it's just about a cup and a half that I'm going to add to it. And then let that cook for about half an hour, and you have some excellent hamburger stew. I really like the flavor. I think the dry mustard and the oregano is what does the trick. Alright, so the stew has come back to a boil now. And just to recap, I got between a pound and a quarter of the leanest ground beef that I could find, and I browned it and drained it, and then added a cup of chopped onion. I used a yellow onion, but you can use most any kind of onion you have. And sorry about that fan noise. I forget about it. I don't realize it's still on. But then I sauteed the onion and let that cook until it was tender. And then I added my spices. I added 1½ teaspoons of dry or ground mustard, and ½ teaspoon of oregano, 1½ teaspoons of salt, and 4 cloves of garlic. Now, don't have any garlic today, so what I did was left out the salt and added 1½ teaspoons of garlic salt instead. And we'll see, we may have to adjust it to taste after it's done. So then I added, after the spices, 2½ tablespoons of flour and stirred that in good along with the spices. And then I added a quart of water. Now you can add a quart of beef broth if you have it. I don't have it today, and what I normally use when I don't have beef broth is a quart of water and 4 teaspoons of better than bouillon, which is what I like to use. But I don't have that today. I have the regular bouillon, so I'm adding 5 cubes of regular bouillon to make it a little bit stronger. So then I let all that come back to a boil, and now I'm going to add 1 cup of chopped white potatoes, bite-sized pieces, or really whatever you want to add. And the vegetables that I have about a cup and a half of green beans, carrots, and corn, which I had saved from an earlier batch of stew. For this one, it's been in the freezer until yesterday. So I'm adding the vegetables now, and along with those vegetables, now I prefer fresh vegetables. If I have my garden going and it's spring, summer, or fall, I can usually have some fresh vegetables to go in. Right now, all I would have would be fresh Brussels sprouts, but I don't have any of those with me. And I'm going to add a 14½ ounce can of tomatoes. Again, I like to use my home canned tomatoes, but I'm out of those right now, so I'm using a can of tomatoes. And I'm going to let that come back to a boil. And simmer for maybe about 30 minutes. Normally I would put the potatoes in first and cook those for a while, or any kind of fresh vegetables in and let them cook a little bit longer than the either canned or frozen. But I cut these so small till I'm just going to put them all in, stir it up, and in about 30 minutes it will be done. So if you'll come back with me, we'll see how it looks once it's done. So it's been about 30 minutes, and this is what we have. This is a rich, thick, and hearty stew, or soup. Some people call it soup. But it's good to eat either by itself, with crackers. You can make homemade breadcrumbs to go with it. Any kind of dinner roll. You can put rice under it like a regular stew. But any way you serve it, it will be delicious. So thanks for stopping by. And if you found this video to be helpful, please like and subscribe.